What's going on, everyone? Nick here with my spoiler-free review of Bad Boys for Life, the third film in the Bad Boys trilogy, which started way back in 1995. So this movie is essentially 25 years after the first film, and 17 years after its sequel, Bad Boys 2. So at this point you'd probably assume, why even bother making a third film? Well, it's because the first two actually made quite a bit of money, and they're kind of regarded as classic films nowadays, and pretty iconic for their team-up of Will Smith and Martin Lawrence. And if you actually go into the development behind a third Bad Boys film, it had been in development for years and years, going through tons of different writers, directors, story ideas. They actually went into production at the beginning of last year through to the summer, so everything kind of came together finally for this third chapter. Now, personally, I'm not like a huge, super fan of the Bad Boys franchise. It's not something that's near and dear to my heart. I like the first movie a lot. I thought it was a lot of fun. There was really great chemistry between the two leads, and it was at the point in Will Smith's career where he was basically at the top of his game. He had done Men in Black, he had done a bunch of really iconic roles by that point, but the second Bad Boys I wasn't super into, just because it was super long and convoluted and just had way too much action stuff going on with it. And I think if you go look at reviews for that film, you'll see that a lot of other critics had the same problems. But Bad Boys for Life, this third movie, wasn't actually directed by Michael Bay. It was directed by Adil and Bilal and features screenplay from Chris Bremner, Peter Craig, and Joe Carnahan, who was at one point actually slated to direct the film. The film stars Will Smith and Martin Lawrence reprising their iconic roles. It also features newcomers like Vanessa Hudgens, Alexander Ludwig, Charles Melton, Paola Nunez, and Jacob Scipio. The basic plot of the film, without giving too much away, is that the duo of Marcus Burnett and Mike Lowry is coming apart, and aging Burnett has become a police inspector, while Lowry, suffering a midlife crisis, is assigned to head up AMMO, a Young Guns group of millennial cops with whom he has nothing in common with. But the two have to reunite once again when a fierce cartel mob boss that has a personal connection with Mike Lowry makes an attempt to take his life, bringing the Bad Boys together once again for one last ride. And as you can tell from that synopsis, this film really leans on and plays into the relationship between Burnett and Lowry. You really get a sense that these guys have been at it together for about 25 years at this point, and they're really close guys, almost brothers by this point. You know, they have a lot of interactions with their respective family members, they know exactly what they will and won't do, and they have like such a great shorthand banter, which really carries a lot of the film, because you just want to see the interactions between Will Smith and Martin Lawrence, who have also grown in their respective acting careers. As for some of the new cast of characters, I thought that the group called AMMO, you know, the whole Young Guns kind of hotshot younger cops thing, I thought it was fine, and you know, they don't really add too much to the story, although they are like a presence, I guess, throughout majority of it, because they're really synced up with Will Smith's character. And without giving too much away, the villain of the film, like I said, is kind of like this cartel mob boss that has a direct connection to Michael Lowry and his whole past. So you'll have to see how they kind of play out with, you know, the whole reveal and how that all comes together and why they're trying to kill Mike, and, you know, all of that is revealed in the film. You might buy it, you might not buy it, but they do actually go into some sort of storyline with the character's past. Another thing that I really liked about this film was how well it was shot and how good the action sequences were laid out. This was definitely not like a typical Michael Bay movie where there's just stuff blowing up all over the place with no rhyme or reason. At least in this movie, you can really see what's going on within the action sequences. It's all pretty well laid out. The movie is also beautifully shot, and I was shocked to know that they actually filmed it in Atlanta, Georgia, because all three of these movies take place in Miami. It's about Miami cops and those kind of struggles, and the movie looks like they shot in Miami, so I'm kind of shocked that they actually filmed it in Georgia, which is kind of the stark opposite to Miami, Florida. Now, if I had any criticisms or negatives for the film, I'd probably say that it doesn't really add anything new to the action film genre, and it kind of feels like a movie out of the early 2000s or something. I feel like nowadays, since we've had John Wick and stuff like Mad Max Fury Road, that action movies have really evolved into this next step, but unfortunately for this franchise, it's kind of going through the same motions, which could be a positive or negative for most film fans. If you like these kind of movies, these big, bombastic, over-the-top, macho man action films from the 90s, you'll probably get a kick out of this. And I personally don't hate it, it's just like one of those things where you'd like to see the franchise kind of evolve what it began as. And another complaint was that I didn't entirely buy the whole villain angle. They weren't as strong as I was hoping they would be, and there was a big twist reveal that comes kinda out of nowhere, and I don't know how to feel about it. Now, with all that being said though, the way this movie ends, without spoiling things, does actually kinda lead me to want to see another movie in the series, even though I didn't ever think I'd want to see a third Bad Boys anyways. So overall, Bad Boys for Life is a movie that has a lot of action, humor, heart, and family drama, but also kind of brings the whole franchise full circle. I'm going to be giving it a 3 out of 5 stars. So if you guys have seen Bad Boys for Life, let me know what you thought of it down in the comments below, but let's try to keep it as spoiler free as possible, so those of you who are going to see it for the first time aren't ruined. If you like this review, be sure to subscribe to my channel for more content like this and more movie reviews, and hit that bell icon so you can get immediately notified whenever I drop a new video. If you guys also want to get in contact with me personally, you can hit me up on social media, links down in the description box below. With all that being said, I'll catch you guys in the next video.